Welcome to Ultimate DIY, where you learn to be your own handyman. And today, inside this little closet, we have an old gas heater, and we are going to take this heater out and exchange it with this Performance Rheem hot water heater. So let's get to it. Okay, guys, I'm going to start by telling you it is extremely hot here in Texas. So you may hear a fan running today, sometimes in the background, because it's supposed to be 105 degrees today. And obviously, this hot water heater is outside. But let's go ahead and get into some of the basics. First of all, how do you know that you need to replace your unit? A hot water heater is meant to only last usually 9-10 years. You can get some of the elite models which might last a little bit longer, but you can kind of guess on around 10 years. This unit, if you look, there's a plate right in the front, and this plate will give you everything you need to know. It's going to tell you your serial number, your model number. It's going to tell you that it's gas. It tells you the BTUs that this unit uses, which is an important thing. You'll need that when you shop for your new unit as well, which this one is 38,000 BTUs. It's going to tell you capacity in US gallons. This is a 50-gallon hot water heater, another very important thing that you will need to know. But it tells you everything that you need to know about replacing the unit, but it also tells you something else that's very important. If you look at the bottom, this one was actually manufactured in 2004. This is 2024 at the time of this filming, which means this unit is 20 years old. And this is a base unit. This is not an elite model. And even in an elite model, it would be way beyond its time. It would be time to replace it. So that means that there's probably sludge and all kinds of things built up into this tank, and they're only getting partial capacity. Plus, the technology in the last 20 years on your gas valves has changed tremendously, and they're probably spending more on gas than they should. So that is your first signs that you need to replace this unit. But there are other indications with this unit, and we're going to take a look down here at the bottom of the unit, and I'm going to show you a couple things. So when I'm looking at this unit, first of all, most units have a pan underneath them. This is kind of a unique situation being placed outside, and they have a concrete barrier built up around this, and if it leaks, it's able to run out, even though it does have an overflow here as well. But when you look at this concrete, I can see where water has been puddling, these wet spots. That's an issue. I also look right here, and in a second, you're going to see a drip, by the way. I'm going to tell you ahead of time so you can be watching for the drip. But if you look around the bottom here, it's very rusted. Now, a lot of that can be just surface rust. There goes your drip right there. Hopefully you saw that. But a lot of times that rust goes clean through, and there's no way for me to know exactly how far it is and how much damage is inside this unit. So in other words, this unit is liable to basically erupt at any time and end up flooding out this whole area with water. And if these customers happen to be out on a trip or something, there may be no one here to actually shut it off, and their whole yard and everything else floods. Luckily, it's on the outside and not the inside. If this was an inside unit, it could be even more dangerous because you will have a pan, but that pan can overflow quickly. So this drip, though, this water that I'm getting out is coming out of my drain cap. Now, sometimes you can tighten that drain cap, get it to work right. Sometimes you can even replace the drain cap. But on a 20-year-old unit, that's really not feasible. It's time to put a new unit in. So let's go on to the next stage of this. How do I know what unit I need to put in my house? So let's go ahead and figure that out. Did I mention it's hot today here in Texas? It is extremely hot. So let's go ahead though, and let's figure out what unit we're going to put in this thing. First thing I told you earlier was we know that this is a 50-gallon unit. That was on the plate. Extremely important. So we have a 50-gallon unit. We can look at it and we see the gas line. We know we have a gas unit. Okay, those are the two basic, easy things. Now, there are a lot of different 50-gallon units out there. They're going to have different BTUs. This one is a 38,000 BTU. We know that's what was used here. Now you're going to, that's kind of an important thing because you're going to look for that as well. So 38,000 BTUs, you're going to look for gas, and you're going to look for 50 gallon. But like I said, there's a lot of these type units out there. They're going to be some of them short and more round. Some of them are tall. They have all different dimensions to be able to fit in your application. So we want to find one that will fit in this application. So I don't have to be taking off door jambs and things and rebuilding this whole area to make a hot water heater fit. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my hot water heater. And I am actually 58 and about a quarter tall. 58 and a quarter, very important number. I'm going to measure straight across from the back to the front, and I have 20 inches. So I am 20 inches this way, 58 and a quarter that way. We know that we are now 38,000 BTUs, and this is a gas unit, and it's 50 gallons. So let's see what we got and see if it's going to fit. So the unit that I found is actually a Rheem unit, which is a good brand, works very well. I know that it is gas. It says natural gas right here. This is also a 50 gallon, and when you read down here at the bottom, it'll tell you that it is a 50 gallon tank. It's this part right here. Extremely important there. Now this gives me the dimensions on the label. I am actually 58 and a quarter, exact height that I need, and I'm 20 and a half inches wide. Probably about a half inch wider, but I have plenty of room to work with there. That's not a problem. So this is a perfect replacement. You will also notice over here, it's 38,000 BTUs. So this is the exact replacement for what we have in there, just a different brand. So let's go ahead and take another close look inside and see if there's anything else we're going to need to put this in. So when I'm looking at the unit, I have my water supplies here. This is the hot going out. This is the cold coming in. You're going to know it's the cold coming in because you're going to have a shut off here, which shuts the water supply off to the unit. These don't look too old. They look, this one especially, actually they both have new labels. I can probably read the manufacturer data, but they look fairly new. We're going to try to keep those and not replace them unless we absolutely have to. We'll put it in. If I notice it's leaking or dripping, then I will have to go ahead and pull that out. My ductwork that goes to the top, this is generally going to be a B vent, which is kind of a unique way they did it. They did V vent, and they have a little section of just metal tubing in the center. That's not necessarily the way you're supposed to do that. But this is what will actually vent it out and through the roof of this building. Here is my pressure relief valve on this side, and it is working, but we're going to have a new one, but we're going to disconnect the line to it here because this line is going back and through the wall and out to the side of the house. So we're going to go ahead and just reuse that, but disconnect there. We'll do the same thing. If it ends up leaking, we'll end up replacing that pipe, which, yeah, it's a solder-on connection. And so on this side of the unit, guys, we have our gas line coming in, and this is just a little peacock turn type shutoff. It looks like a fairly old one. I know the customer said they had a gas leak here not too long ago, so I'm going to shut it off. If I sense that this thing is leaking and we have a problem, we'll probably just go ahead and replace that as well, but we'll try it. And then this is your old gas line, and it's very old looking and beat up. I'm going to replace that. I replace those generally anyway. It just makes sense. It's cheap. They're 25, 30 bucks. Put a brand new one on. Don't have to worry about that. And of course, your new hot water heater will have a brand new valve and everything installed. So that's really all there is to it. The only other thing I could do here if I wanted is try to get a pan to put under it. But from what I understand is the concrete goes up, blocks anything, and it flows out if there's actually an issue. And you do have the pressure relief hooked up. So Okay, guys, it's time to go ahead and get started. One other thing I wanted to point out though, if you're new to this, they do have instructions on the back of this box that are very generic, but they'll at least kind of give you a step-by-step process of what you need to do to get this unit out. But the very first thing I usually will do is I'll reach over and I will shut off my cold water supply. And it just has a big valve. It's like a gate valve. Oh. Instead of going this way like you'd expect, they have it backwards, so it's going the other way. So now my water supply is shut off. I will go in and I will turn on the hot water so relieve some pressure out of this unit. We will shut off the gas, and then I'm going to take a hose and hook it to the valve, and hopefully this valve is working so that we can get the hot water out of this unit so that it's easier to move. And then we'll start disconnecting everything, opening up the box, and getting ready to slide the new one in. So let's go ahead and get to that. All right, so once the water's shut off, I go ahead and I will shut off my gas valve. And this is just like a little peacock type valve. It'll actually turn clockwise, kind of like a gate valve. I use an open-end adjustable wrench, place it on it, and then keep turning it until it is off. Now, off on this is going to be this way. On is this way, meaning gas can flow through it. That's the way I always picture it so that I know I've got it correct. There we go. But sometimes I can grab this with my open-end adjustable pliers or something and twist this as well. There we go. That should let all the pressure out. So let's go back outside. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to unhook the gas lines. I use another open-end adjustable wrench for that. Maybe sometimes my open-end adjustable pliers. We'll see. One thing I forgot to mention, be sure you have your water shut off near you in case something ruptures and you're having a problem. Maybe even that water shut off valve on the cold supply isn't working right. You can run out real quick and go ahead and shut the water off. So make sure you have this handy. All right, let's go undo our gas lines. We will start here at the actual unit. Now, a lot of times you'll have to put a second wrench here on this other side. This one broke loose without having to do that. There we go. And let's see if it'll break loose on this one. It's kind of a tight little area right here. They don't give you a lot of room to actually work. So sometimes you'll have to put a wrench here on this side to hold it, or use your open-end adjustable just to make sure you don't break this loose on this side. Actually, open that just a tad more, right about. Get these to work right there. Just to kind of give it a little something to hold, and then put this wrench in and start loosening. Technically, this is the one that this one should stay, but I'm going to reconnect both and put some new plumber's dope on that one. Which I'll pull it out here in a second and I'll show you what I mean. So now we're going to go ahead and grab the hose, hook up the hose to the valve, and let's see if that valve will work enough to get the water out. So we're going to go ahead and hook it up to this. This is an old plastic valve, pretty beat up. I've got my good hose here, ran out into the yard away from the house. We're going to put it on here. Now, I will tell you that even when you manage to move this, and usually you have to play with it to get it to work, most of the time, first of all, remember the water's probably really hot in here still, so you don't want to get sprayed with it. So now that the hose is hooked up down at the bottom, before I try to open up the little valve, I'll go ahead and open up the water line going into it. And what this will do is it will allow air into the system and allow it to drain correctly. A lot of times you won't get any draining unless you get this open. So we're going to open, and remember there's hot water in this unit, but pressure should be relieved, so we shouldn't get sprayed. Just keep that in mind. Trying to stay out of your way so you can see. There you go. As the line is open at the top and we have the hose hooked on, ran out to the yard, we're going to try it now. Make sure that this is good and tight, and it seems to be very tight, so we shouldn't get sprayed. And now it's a matter of turning this unit and getting it to actually drain. All right, guys, it has water coming out. It is slightly dripping, but you can feel the water coming. The hose is hot also all the way down. And if you listen, you can actually hear it. So let's go ahead and go out and see if it is draining outside. Yes, and it is coming out nice and slow, but it is coming out. Might be able to turn it and speed it up a little. I just don't want to flood that whole area if that whole valve comes loose. So we are going to do that. We'll probably go ahead and hit the relief valve a little bit and let pressure out as well. As that valve is pretty clogged, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can't. We've got it all disconnected. I went ahead and disconnected the pressure relief valve. Everything's loose. I'm going to see if I can get it out this way. Maybe if we get it over to that area, I can just dump it. But we'll see. These are pretty heavy. They're 150 pounds usually without water in them. And this has got a ton of water in it. Let me see if I'm able to move it at all. It might actually come out of there. All right, I'm going to get it over out of the way. That way we can be putting the new one in and let that one continue to drain. All right, guys, so you can see I've got the system outside. I've got the valve off. The valve just slides inside, and it's supposed to allow fluid to run through this little opening and down and into your hose. But I'm sure it was just clogged up from years of not being used. I could have sat there for hours and let it go ahead and drain out slowly. But if you've got the help and you can get it down a hallway without breaking anything, you can go ahead and get it outside and take the side off and let it drain out. And this, by the way, is the part that a lot of times you can replace, but I wouldn't do it on a 20-year-old unit. So we're going to let that run out, and we're going to go ahead and go back, and we're going to start installing the new unit. First, of course, opening up the box and getting it inside of the closet. Here you can see now the relief valve. That's where it's tied into if you have to replace it. There's your water line, and now you can see the shut off a little better. Big old gate valve. This is your hot, soldered in on that side. And like I said, the pipes look fairly new. And here is your venting going up. This is the pipe I was talking about that's kind of in the center. Here you go. This is single wall. This really should be a double wall like that right there. So we'll go ahead and use it now to get it started, but I'll probably have to come back and change that out with a double wall pipe. And then here is your gas valve right here. And we're just going to sweep everything out, clean it up, and start opening up the box. I just want to point some out to you. You're going to see black marks that go all the way around the box on these edges. That's generally where you're going to cut it open. They're telling you at the safe spot, cut it, and you can lift this top off. Let's see if we got all those tied together. Take that all the way off. There we go. I don't think I cut all the way through. There we go. There it is, just like that. So we should be able to just lift the top clean off now. Just like that right there. It is ready to roll. There's our new pressure relief valve. Everything's already somewhat hooked up. Pull this out today. There's the new top. And should be good to go. And I will tell you that there is another place here for a pressure relief if you have to move it to the top, depending on your setup. And it has a quick start guide that you'll open up and read when you get ready to start it. So let's go ahead and get it put into place. All right, guys, we've got it somewhat set in place. Now it's just a matter of kind of moving things around and getting it kind of organized and start setting up our pipes. This is our old line right here, and it had this nipple on it. Well, your new replacement unit already has the nipple on it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. I've got this all cleaned up real good right here. We're going to go ahead and put the nipple. We're going to try to leave this valve. Hopefully the valve works because it goes way off in here. I really don't want to have to can unscrew it and go try to get another one and screw it on there. But I think that valve is going to be fine. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and get this piece on right here. Now I do mine a little different than most people. I do Teflon tape and I do the Blue Monster. Somebody had some cool music going out there. Now generally when you do gas, if you're doing just Teflon tape, get the yellow Yellow is made for natural gas. This is just going to give me one little extra layer of protection. Now I want this to go clockwise, just like the unit's going to go on. Just like this, you flip it over and you keep going. Now, I'm going to get probably 4 or 5 rows on here. If I was doing just Teflon, I would go probably 8. But that way, when it ends, it will end going this direction. So when I put this on, it doesn't unwind it, it goes with it. If I did it the other way and I started putting this on, it would literally unwind the Teflon. So you want to make sure you end in the same direction you're turning. So in other words, clockwise. Now I take some of the Blue Monster. This is made for gas. It's made for water. It's very good stuff. I'm going to put some of this on as well. I do like the way they angle these brushes so you can get behind it. But this gives a whole nother layer of protection. And I will see some guys, by the way, that do use just Teflon and they'll use just the white and it seems to work fine. But they say the yellow gives a little better protection for gas. All right. So we've got that. So now we're going to go ahead and thread this on just like that. Get it about hand tight. Now what I like to do here, since this is another valve, there's a lot of connections here. I'm going to try to hold this, and it's going to be kind of awkward doing this with you guys watching because I'm trying to stay out of the view. But I'm going to hold it like that, and then I'm going to start trying to turn this and get it nice and tight so I have no gas leaks. The threads in these alone are made to help try to stop any type of a gas leak, but they're not always 100% adequate. That's why you have to, and it even tells you in instructions to do some Teflon tape or sealant. Actually, they recommend the sealant more than the tape. It's stronger. There we go. And that is pretty good and tight. And now we're going to wipe off the excess. Now this one will have a little cap. You pull the cap off. All right. And I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, guys, so we're going to take this one and we're going to start it like so. And you're going to go around it. And we're going to put that on. Go. Okay, guys, everything is connected now. Now, what I do, you can either use a gas sniffer or you can use some soapy water. I have some really soapy water. You'll spray down the connections with this soapy solution. Get it on the spray. And then you'll just kind of watch those connections for big bubbles coming out. So if you've actually got any leaks, it's going to bubble. So everything that's gas, that's what I do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and go up on top and we are going to connect the water lines and we'll watch for those to see if we get any bubbles. Just like that. Make sure the top is kind of cleaned out so we don't get Teflon down in our unit. And we're going to do the monster here. Try and make sure there's plenty of it on there. Just like that. Now let's see if we can get that started. Sorry, I know that's blocking a little, but there we go. Use my adjustable opening wrench. Without the pipe in the center, I can just go all the way around. Save a bunch of time. This is our hot water side. Okay, so all we got left now is the cold water side. We know that it's going to go over. Actually, that's not, yeah, it's not bent too much. It goes down. It's going to turn this way clockwise. So you're going to want your tape to go that same direction. All right, so we are going to go ahead and pressure on the system and see how it works. Now, one thing I do, guys, is I will a lot of times open the relief valve so it lets a little bit of the air pressure out. You can also pressurize this up and leave the hot side undone, and it'll let air escape as it fills. All right, guys, so basically what we do now, it's filling up. We're going to let it kind of fill up and equalize. Make sure that that is working well. I do have the relief valve on so that it can let some air escape. And we'll be looking for leaks. All right, guys, so on this Rheem performance heater, they give you these instructions to try to help walk you through it. It's mainly pictures. It's fairly simple. You're going to have this dial here, which A, B, C, D, and very hot. That's all going to be temperatures. That's just regular hot, low, and if you're on vacation, you have a vacation button, which is really kind of a cool feature. And then you have pilot. So we have it right now turned to pilot. And what we do is we're going to hold this down just like this, and we have to hold it for 90 seconds. Okay, we have a status light blinking now. That means that it is actually working. Now all we need to do is turn it over to hot, and I hear it start up. And if you look at this, you go hot is 120 degrees, A is 130, B is 140, C is 150, and very hot is 155. We are probably going to go ahead and set ours at about we'll go ahead and do the C rating right now and see what that does. So I'm going to move it over here and leave it on C. And we'll be able to test it in a few minutes and see if the actual hot water is working. There you go, guys. It is in. It has been a long day. It's extremely hot, like I've already said. But I went ahead and did some other projects around here so I could give this time to make sure that it heats up correctly, be able to come back and check all of my fittings and make sure I have no drips. And we're going to take one last shot at checking the gas lines with the soap solution to make sure that we do not have any leaks. This is definitely a DIY project. Just follow the steps that I did today and you'll be fine. I hope you got something out of today's video, and we will see you guys on the next one.